Well, today there will be practice. Now I will describe to you a little backstory. Recently, just a reminder, you remember the orange taste. You all remember for sure that words are words, right? I'm trying to describe as best as I can, so don't nitpick. The other day something happened to me. With me. It emerged in a completely spontaneous manner. I can't share all the intricate details just yet, but the reason I am telling you this now is to convey a bit the value of this practice. Because for about the last 1.5 days, I just engaged in very pure practice, not involving myself anyhow in what is happening in this world, so that there is absolutely no one left who has gotten involved in any way. And, practice is an incredibly priceless opportunity. When something occurs that completely and utterly shatters everything that exists, your entire world can collapse in a mere instant, as if it were all just pulled away. Everything that you ever did, all the things that happened simply vanish away, just like death does. And maybe you won't believe, and over there I must tell you, there's this incredible quantum earthquake occurring. So, in general, the essence is that literally a couple of days ago, everything was fine. I live, I share knowledge, we film, everything is great, everything is happening. And then bam, the moment unfolds this way. It unfolds in a manner that is truly incredible and unusual, as if some storm is passing. And just like that, in a moment, I have neither phone nor acquaintances. That's it, you become nobody. Among only unfamiliar people. That's it. And everything is located all together in one single space. Just unclear what is happening, why it is happening like this. And how it will go on, that is, will there be anything further? That's it. Just like that. It's as if you were pulled out and thrown into a completely different world with absolutely unfamiliar people and left with nothing. Literally, just literally one for one. As if you were someone there, but they just take you like this. Pull you out and toss you into another world. It's without warning, just a moment. And everything is taken from you. Everything is taken. You are taken, thrown into another world where you know no one. And what else is from where? You can't escape. And there's no understanding of what will happen next. Absolute uncertainty. Here it is. This situation has clearly emerged. It's evident there. Just how spontaneous it is and what lies ahead remains unknown. That is, it's turned off to the maximum. If here, to consider in real life, to look at all this, you need to look very closely, as I showed in one of the previous Zooms, to look very closely at how each phenomenon arises. In our everyday lives, we have a strong impression that we're influencing situations, but then a series of spontaneous events unfolds that you simply do not have any impact on whatsoever. Something happens without any clear reason, and you find that you do not have any influence over it at all. It simply happens, and it remains unclear where exactly it is ultimately leading you. And it manifests itself at the maximum possible level. As soon as it arises, I understand that this is a snowstorm. Dunno, all the storms combined manifested in one moment. And I shift to the maximum. I shift to the maximum into presence, because I don't engage, don't resist at all to anything that is happening. And what is happening, I already understand that it is happening. I cannot influence. I am physically, as a person, powerless. And I go then beyond this. Therefore, today I will tell you and try to convey the practice of presence without presence. I have realized over the last day, so to speak, how invaluable it is. Well, because when something significant is going to happen, when it seems like everything is going to collapse, I am confident that the practice of being present without being present will come to fruition, just as the essence of nature will inevitably manifest itself in your specific moment. And you will feel calm. You will feel incredibly calm, good, and you will be free. No matter where this can happen, even if you are within an enclosed space, you will be free from everything that surrounds you. You will find yourself free from what is currently taking place over there and other things as well. Here. I was sitting here, you see. A situation is happening. On one side, someone is shouting. You don't understand where it came from, why they are shouting. And on the other side, it's, and so on. And I just don't get involved. I shift as much as possible. I find myself simply completely disidentifying at an astonishingly swift pace. First, you step into the moment. Thoughts attack, you understand? There is horror happening. Just a lot of thoughts rushing. At great speed. The heart is racing. It's just. The body is storming. You shift, you overcome. That is, you need to. Whatever is happening, you need to shift and adjust as much as you can. I am telling you how I went through these experiences and what I did. And you step into presence, that is. You engage with the whole space in that moment, as much as possible. There are all sorts of thoughts. How was it there? And what about this? And how will that be? For example, I didn't even understand if I would have Zoom meetings with you today. That is, I would just tell 1,000 people that I would have Zooms with them. But I might not even hold them. That is, I might not even communicate with them. There's still a lot going on, and you just don't understand if it will happen. What about parents? Everything collapses. The ground disappears from under your feet, and you find yourself in a different universe. And you think, wow. And that's it. And at that moment, it becomes very clear how you decide nothing. How? Maybe, personal security. Perhaps we'll see. So everything is great. I'm sure this situation is wonderful. It was meant to be. And thanks to this situation, I'm giving you practice, explaining how invaluable it is and where it helps. That is. And so, when there are certain situations that arise, if it happens to be a scenario where you find yourself standing on the very brink of life and death, or perhaps on the edge of losing that essential sense of being completely free. So this practice will be incredibly helpful. That is, some emergency, super adrenaline situation, where you realize that everything is somehow collapsing, and here. So what I want to share is the story of how I manifested myself. What actually happened I can't tell you in detail yet. Right now various checks are ongoing, and all that. In general, we will find out soon. I will tell you a bit later, here. So, and here is the moment. Something is happening, and I shift. Internally, I will talk about the practice itself. So, firstly, I am focusing all of my attention on this very moment and what's happening now. I extract as much as possible from my mind, from the past. I focus completely here, where I am right now. Maximally, that is, everything that's here now, to the fullest. Next, let's say, from the moment, there occurs what is called a release from all attachments, identification with the personality, with thoughts, emotions, that is, complete disidentification. Thoughts attack, but you do not react at all. There's no one to react. Feelings, no matter what the thoughts are, they are very very trying to touch someone. That is, they are very sensitive to the ego, thoughts. That is, and you understand that you do not react, because if you start reacting, the ego immediately feeds on this. And this starts to turn you inside out, and you need to. Do not react, and you are moving more and more towards your true nature. All sorts of thoughts arise. There, all sorts. In general, they can sound different and so on, but at that moment, I fully understand that it all doesn't matter. Here is my moment, just right here and now. That's all there is. Whether I want it or not, here it is like this now. And that's it, and that's all. It really is so. So it's meant to be exactly like this. Everything is fine, and indeed it should be just like this. And that's why I am maximally disidentifying with thoughts, with the idea that I am someone, that I did something. You are maximally disidentifying. So, but it happens like this. You sit. And everything arises. And you don't react. And the longer this goes on, at some point you don't even feel your body. That is, there is the dissolution of the ego. Here. And, further. There simply occurs observation without judgment. So, there's the screen, and on the screen some events occurs. Something is happening around. Everything. It has become disconnected from you completely. At a certain moment I found myself quickly stepping into this practice. That is to say, due to the fact that I've done it many times. And I was generally present in this state. It definitely was with me. That is, I was present lightly. It is often visible that I conduct a broadcast or something else from this state. It manifests in me naturally. But there I, maximally deepened as much as possible, conditionally deepened, that is, it directly turns you on with the entire screen. It firmly, very strongly turns you on with the entire screen, all space. That's all. And the body is literally within you, and everything happens within you. And whether you are being hit, whether someone is shouting at you, it is not connected to you. That is, there's disidentification happening. That you are the entire screen, all space, and just in you these images, and it happens. That is, some sounds, something. And that is, the body is not felt at all, there. At one moment the body is simply not felt at all. That is, it no longer bothers. Right. I have disidentified with it. And that's it. And therefore, everything is just perceived impartially. Everything that happens is perceived impartially. Be it with this body, be it with other bodies, be it with others. It is simply perceived. Without expectation, there are no expectations at all. Consequently, there is no expectation of what should happen. Absolutely everything there is no one to expect. This is a practice of presence without those present. I can definitely say that it naturally manifested and holds itself this way. And that's it. And everything happens there, and you understand that everything is given to God. And that's it. And how does it? And in this practice, just so you understand, I sat for a day. I just sat like this for a whole day. And then, also spontaneously, it all dissolves. All this madness, which was unclear how it appeared, how it would be, how it would manifest. And it just dissolved. And that's it, and here I am again. It's just incredible. It was precisely just like a storm that passed. Just in the moment of the storm, I maximally enter presence and do not resist. Whatever was happening there, I simply didn't react. I just did not react, and it passed. And here you are again. And you think, wow, it's just incredible. So if suddenly in your life a moment arises that troubles you inside, when you start to become angry, it may not be as intense or profound in your life as it has been for me during this time. I just understand that. The universe is checking how much I am a master, how much I have absorbed everything that I gathered, so to speak. I'm joking, of course, she doesn't check anything. I'm just saying. Here. And that's why. Yes, this is invaluable practice. There are moments when neither money nor anyone can help you. You have no phone, you have nothing. That's it, and you're nobody. I mean, no one knows you. This is super rare. The first time in my life such a moment happened. But conditionally, if you truly understand how you function at that moment, so, then, you really test yourself for strength at such moment. And a lot just happens. And that's it, and then you know. And after that, from the life of every person, I really understood that it happens. I mean, on one of those days the next one doesn't come. For example, I had such an analogy that life didn't end. I really thought that, let's say something like this could happen, and after that the next moment comes. And here is the last. No need to get involved in the situation. The essence is that an emergency situation occurred. I'll explain later. And exactly then the practice of presence and absence really helped me. It helped a lot to calmly accept everything that is happening, and just to be aware of it without getting involved. Whatever happens, it's just like this. There is everything that is happening, including the body. There is what is aware of this. What is aware of everything exists. These criteria apply to it. It's one within itself. That's it. And in this state, I spent a whole day sitting. At some point in time, everything comes to an end. Yes, everything ultimately ends. And the whole situation just dissolves. I'm like, wow. Well, that's it. So, that's why we are together right now. Let's sit down, practice, so to speak, for about 30, 40, 50 minutes. We'll see how it goes. This practice will be useful for you overall, not only eventually, but also on ordinary days. But for me, it somehow holds itself naturally always. That is, it simply supports. No matter what happens, you'll be at peace. No matter what happens, however it looks. Whatever it may be, literally whatever it is. This practice is such that it feels like it's completely not happening to you. The essence is that the ego dissolves, and no one remains after it. This is exactly right. It dissolves completely. And that shows it, and by the way, whatever it is that may for sure happen out there, it is not something that is happening to you personally. It's simply happening within you. You, like the sky, remain untouched, at peace. And that's it. Now I'm going to slowly transition into this practice, explaining how it is done. Let's all just sit comfortably right now. If you're wearing glasses, it's better to take them off. I mean sunglasses, in fact. If you're going to practice. Well, great. I hope you've settled in comfortably. Sit however you like. You can, I mean. The main thing is that you feel comfortable. If you want, lean back. If possible, it would be great if your back is straight. I regularly engage in this particular practice while keeping my knees bent and just sitting. Usually, my feet touch the floor. That is, I can do it standing. That is for it. So what I want to say now, you need to sit down. Next, you step into true presence. You just become presence. Here is a full frame. I am starting to explain everything now. Maximally, all those who are currently engaged in this activity. Maximally direct your attention here, your focus here. Here's the body of the viewers. There's a full frame of what you see. Right in the center of this frame, there is always a body that you consider as your own. It is seen. So to put it in another way, you can see that you actually possess a body. Next, there are some objects around. These can be some people, and something else, various objects. This is the whole specific story. This particular frame is aware, and also the whole space in which all of this happens, in which all objects seem to have emptiness between them. And so, there exists an attention that is being directed. You, as attention, can wander within thoughts, and at this moment in your space, a body begins to arise, theirs. What is visible, there is the invisible. From the visible, this body forms various objects, a table, chairs, other people. Next, the invisible includes sounds, emotions, thoughts, feelings. So, there should be a distance created between you and all these phenomena, that is, you engage with the entire screen. You will experience each of the phenomena if you identify with them. What does this mean? If you cling to them with your attention, but there is emptiness, it is untouched. Conditionally, if you cling to the table with your attention, you are like the table. If to the body, you are like the body. If to a thought, then you live that thought. You can cling to a feeling, but if you remain in the unchanging, then everything else happens to you, but it does not concern you. So, if you remain in this unchanging emptiness, there may be some objects in front of you, but it is as if you are looking at them or nearby. And not at any specific object, but it's as if your attention has simply spread out. This can be done with your eyes open. Thus, it can also be done with closed eyes, but it is worse. Let's start with open ones. With closed eyes, thoughts attack even more, and so on. First, learn with open eyes, and then you can try with closed ones, although there are no differences. But, from my observations, when you close your eyes, it simply intensifies. Although you can do it with closed eyes, when I went through dark retreats, it was very cool and effective. There is just such a moment. Just forgive everything. It is essential to dissolve all of this ego that has built up in you. There are attachments. There were some situations you expect. You expect something, or something happened, and you have a connection with it. Because in presence you dissolve. And in this way peace is attained. You must forgive everything. That is, you literally forgive yourself. In all your manifestations, no matter who or what has done to you. If they stand and yell at you, you forgive. Do not react. They are not yelling at you. You are like a screen that simply perceives the phenomenon that is happening. Literally on the screen, characters are saying something, yelling, manifesting in any way. And you can shift to your true nature in the practice of presence and realize that you are truly not this body, not these thoughts, not all of this. And so by shifting towards yourself, you find peace. Wherever you are, you remain. At peace in a complete sense of freedom. At peace. And whatever happens around you, it just happens. It does not have any impact on your life at all. You no longer care, so it turns out that you are shifting. It just technically happens like you shift between zones. And there is really no one left who would be concerned. That's it, and there are no differences. Literally, there are no differences. That is, your state is simply unchanging. The unchanging sense of peace, which simply transcends and surpasses all sounds imaginable. All people, everything that happens, it transcends all existence. Everything comes out of it. And you're unshakable. And there, the disidentification with the body happens. It is no effort to sit. At the beginning of the path, you sit. You do not move. Various desires arise, and you need to go through them one by one. If a thought arises, you start to accelerate it. You see that this is not you, and you disidentify. You shift away from it. What do I mean by shifted? All these processes, they happen. Here you are sitting, and then a thought arises. How will this be? How will this be? What? How is it there? It appears. You do not react. That is, you paid attention, saw that you are not this thought, and you shifted. Just do not react, let them flow. You are not the thought. It is just a process, just like objects appear in your space. I don't know, pots, people. A lot of things appear in space. It's the same, just it's invisible. Here are visible objects. Objects, let's say, and I'm creating a subject here. I need to somehow explain this. A phenomenon. There, an invisible, visible phenomena. And the same goes for this. You walk, trees are visible on the street. This is a visible phenomenon. And you have no claim that these are your trees. That is, the same goes for these thoughts. They are just trees in the yard. 1,000, an infinite number. Do not claim them. Just stop claiming them, thinking that this is happening to you. Stop thinking that these trees are growing at your feet. That is, they arise from space. One needs to disidentify. And that's it, they will continue. There's no need to try to stop them. Trying to stop thoughts will only speed them up. That is, it will only accelerate, obviously, because it is just the mind trying to stop itself. And it's impossible, it can't be stopped. There is no chance. It will continue its activity for sure. But at some point it will weaken significantly. It will weaken significantly. And it might even drop off, if necessary. But even if it doesn't drop off, it won't matter to you. That is, you should not expect. There should be no expectations regarding the next moment. There should be no expectations regarding what should happen in practice. Because practice without a practitioner, it happens naturally. Just relax deeply. It's about being effortless. Dissolved space. Not getting involved in thoughts, nor in feelings, nor in the form of objects, nor in sounds. You remain only to shift into true nature, and it abides in itself, in its untouched state. Surpass any desire to move. At first, many will have the desire to move, to go to sleep. Some will laugh. The mind produces different reactions. To avoid, you see, this is the disidentification with the mind. This is dissolution of the ego. But this is literally the moment itself of practice. Ego dis. But the ego is immortal. It can return, manifest at any moment if needed. But in the very moment it dies, that is, it dissolves. during practice. And it can manifest in such a way that you might be carried away either into sleep or into some thoughts that might overwhelm you, convincing you that you need to change your position or scratch yourself, meaning you need to somehow distract yourself. And you need to surpass all of this, not react. Because there is a connection that I am doing all this and I need to react to it. For example, someone shouts your name and there is a strong connection that I need to react to that name. This is the same. When there's desire, the impulse is created in the body by the mind. Move, scratch yourself. You have someone in your life who believes that they really need to react to this situation. Therefore, such impulses can be very diverse. For example, sleep, the mind can drift away, and so on. You will have to surpass this. Do not set any expectations. This practice will manifest differently for everyone. It will turn out differently for all, understood or not understood. But the most effective is to be effortlessly. Something is happening in the space. You are not focused on something specific. You are unfocused. Attention. Total lack of focus throughout the space. And without effort, attention is dropped in space. That is, it is not focused on anything, it simply exists. Just as it will drop in space, so it will drop. And that's it. And then just say goodbye to everything, move on. Want to move. You see that it does not move. Do not react. Say goodbye. Anger towards someone. Forgive all. Thoughts are forgiven. And then just peace. Maximally. We leave everything in peace. The practice will begin at the moment when all movements stop. Exactly your reaction. That is, movements will occur for sure. Thoughts and sounds or something else will emerge. But you at that moment will be so at peace that there will be no one to react. I have shared as much as I could. Now as much as I can, will go deep into immersion. Next, I will silently explain. Including, by the way, breathing. It's too, like any kind of control, needs to be released. Breathing exactly in natural way. Fills itself and drops. And this happens very slowly. like that. And then in this specifical state, he functions stronger, presenting without effort, as if I am such an effortless presence now, just being, and all happens within me. And whatever happens, whatever sound resonates, whatever happens, there is always a unified taste, always calm, The first days, I spent many hours focusing on stepping into this. At first it didn't work. It was just like chasing thoughts. You long chase thoughts. But to stop chasing thoughts, you need to sincerely consider that these are just phenomena that arise and vanish. That's it, and you will stop chasing thoughts. Sleepiness will be felt only at first. The urge to move will also be present initially. Then, when you finally engage, nothing difficult at all, no challenges for you to sit there for an hour, or 2, or 10 hours, however long you can just sit still. This is your natural state, nothing difficult for you. That is, you understand that you won't even feel the body. You will be completely engaged with the screen. And the state. Incredible. An incredible peace, bliss, lightness, freedom. And nothing bothers you. Neither desires nor the body, nor what is around. Nothing. You can sit as many hours as you want. I didn't understand before how they could sit like that. 8 hours or something else. And there the entire body effortlessly transforms into some sound. During disidentification, tears come. Many tears because you disidentify from your goals, dreams, loved ones, and in that very moment, you disidentify from this to find yourself, and with the body with its desires, this is the very moment, and it just flows on the way to yourself. And everything arises, and this peace remains. And from this state of presence, one can move into other experiences, deeper ones. And truly, absolutely nothing at all needs to be done in order to fully enter into the state of presence. It is precisely within, well, that is, there is no need to move, chase thoughts, chase feelings, react. You simply don't have to. Inside there's someone. This is the I, and it reacts to every single thought, to every feeling, to every sound in the space, quickly gives a description to this sound, thinks that it relates to it. This I is busy. And you just need to enter presence and see how this I reacts to every visual. But the I by itself is just a thought. This is simply a thought, with which there has been a very strong identification. And within this thought, every thought that emerges in the mind is being created by this very thought itself. Every feeling that comes to the surface, it experiences them deeply. and whole this body belongs to this thought. And everything that happens in space it begins to describe. And that's it. This is simply will be unseen. And when everything is unseen, you free yourself from the I. You disidentify from the I. I is just one of the endless thoughts that have arisen, and it has solidified. By the way, you look into the void, and at some point it seems like the air molecules are moving 100%. And it is better to dwell in these molecules. It really is so. It's as if you begin to see how the space. You find yourself on the verge of seeing, as you plunge so deeply into the experience that you begin to perceive how the space around you, how energy flows through the space. That is, these molecules, and this energy flows through the space. And in disidentification you will see this, especially in the light. There is something that flows through the space. Dwell in this. Focus your attention there. Like pixels, just gather into these things. Maximize your attention out of the world of forms, and stay in this unchanging. And there is peace, because the unchanging itself, it's at rest. And this unchanging is not disturbed by objects, nor sounds, nor feelings. Nothing bothers it. But the mind is racing, because it dwells in thoughts, feelings, in all of this. And all of these forms, this is the subtle plane. When you dwell in space, you see how energy, something flows, some fire flies through space. It's subtle. And here we are. This is indeed that. This is precisely the same light that has now revealed itself through these forms. And they, this rough and unrefined plane, appear to seem as if they are extraordinarily real, even more real than this constant thing that we see. Like this, but it disappears. And when you find yourself dwelling in this state of unchanging permanence, peace will truly unfold because you dwell in your true nature. It is unchanging, untouched. No sound in the world can possibly affect it at all. No thought can affect it. It is all thoughts, it is all sounds, all feelings, all people. Everything arises from it. All is in it. All arises from it and dissolves. And when a situation arises, anxiety, something comes up in your life, just step into this presence. Done. It is all that there is. The body will go where it needs to, do what it needs to. Everything will happen. Stay at peace. No, don't fuss, don't rush, raise panic, all of this. Maintain your calm. If you, at first, may be very much carried away by thoughts to the past and future, bring it out, don't lose this moment. So, if you can see these fireflies in the space around you, to be completely honest, I just don't mention them to anyone, as very few people actually see them. In this vast space, it is possible to see things clearly. You can also begin to see it gradually. And make sure to stay in it for a while. Your attention will wander through this, and it will keep you specifically in the moment, because they happen right in the moment. Here it is now, here it is, and if you're in thoughts, you're somewhere else. And here is the space, here it is now, and there are some of these invisible things in it. And in this way it flows just like the energy that surrounds us. It manifests in the most different forms. Just stay in them. If they haven't yet arisen in your mind, then spend a little time in the space around. That's it, and by being in them, it will turn you on very quickly. Because these thoughts are endless. That is, there is a mix-up, a strong mix-up with them. Someone writes, I met and saw off thoughts. But I see transparent fireflies around. Very cool. I'm looking here. This is cool. All of this. Give them a little more attention. These fireflies. Give them a little more attention. That's it in practice, just being in them. The plan will simply change. Hop and it will switch. And you will feel it right away for sure. Something will connect to you, start filling you, and it will fill everything, and everything will become one. Only warmth and peace remain. And this is inexplicable, indescribable. And that's it. Fireflies with open eyes. They are present there with their eyes closed too, but with open ones. Try every time to do all this with open eyes. With closed, it'll be further. Look here. Switches for a while, then it will return again. Do not try to hold on to the state. Even the state of calm, I mean presence without presence, you know, is not the final realization. I'm just describing this experience with you. I am sharing with you. The final realization is nature, as I have told you. It is beyond all these experiences. And at the same time, it is these experiences. This experience just naturally manifests, occurs, disappears, then the next. Next. There could be other experiences, or none at all. It might just be standing, or maybe for insane cooking food with involvement, or maybe just anything. Nature remains, the essence of final realization, and in nature there is no one to hold on to the state. No one worries about having a certain state. And this was blissful, somehow cool, and I must hold on to it. Why did it close for me? Very often, people try to return to a certain state they once had, and become hostages of a certain state that once opened up for them. By no means. These various states are ultimately just an illusion also. Just like in the material world, no one can hold on to money for a long time. Real estate, loved ones. Physically, no one can hold on to any of this. In the spiritual world, conditionally, no one can hold on to any state. They also flow away. And already after all these states have flowed away, someone sits in samadhi like this for decades. One life after another life, until it reaches nature. The final realization is nature. Did the practice happen now? Yes, for sure. And what happened next is that you go to drink water. It happened. What happens, happens. It takes care of itself always. Yea. And it does not disturb anyone any time. There is no any thought inside that describes in some way, or even worries about what is happening. Why am I doing this now? What if something is taken from me now? There is no one there who can have something taken, can be added, and so on. That is, at the end, this does not remain. There is the moment itself, and it is as it is, and that's it. And just always know that. You do not realize the moment itself, but the moment itself is as it is in all its forms, whether they are on the subtle plane or whatever plane. But there is no subtle plane anymore. It is already beyond words. I explain it this way, but it's still nonsense. I don't know, honestly. There is no subtle plane, nor a gross plane at all. You will see it soon. This whole fuss ends absolutely, totally, and without ceremony, forever. There is no one who seeks, no one who practices. What remains is just what happens. That's it, and it is there. All happens. That's it, there is nothing. No one proves anything to anyone, no one seeks anything. It just happens as it happens. And that's all. And inside there is no one who is concerned about it. Why am I doing this now? Where will it lead? Such questions are not worth it, because in the very moment something is already happening. And that is what it is, the moment itself. Conditionally, when this napkin is here, there is no one asking, when will I be here, or why was I standing here? It is here, and it is this very moment. Here is the final realization. And here it is in every moment. It doesn't lose itself. It's finally realized. And what happens is what happens. The same goes for the body, completely. In fact, it is easy to see the final realization in everything around. Here, all your objects or trees do not choose where to arise. They arise where they arise. And here they are. And here they are finally realized. There is no one inside. There is no I, thought that is anxious. Right now, once, went into some practice and is experiencing some state. And this thing does not try to return. And so on. It is all one. Here, the practice I talked about is needed only by some people. This practice is not mandatory for everyone. It will naturally resonate with those who need it. In other words, it has manifested, it has appeared. If someone is not able to, it's fine. It may not be necessary for you. Really, don't torture yourself, don't force it out. For those it resonates with, it will happen. It will start to grow as it was sown. It came to me naturally. I connected with it. That's it. My attention went within. I sat, and it unfolded. It unfolded. Then, let everything happen naturally. No, don't torture yourself. Many people were simply brought here once by their honest curiosity. That is the reason why I decided to share this practice with you. But it's not what everyone needs. It does not have to be necessary for everyone. And you are perfectly fine if you do not need it. And otherwise you're also perfectly fine. In any case, you're doing great. It's all wonderful. And I am saying that it does not actually require a final realization process, because the only thing in practice is that you feel, as if in direct experience, how everything is one. Then the feeling fades away, and it simply becomes a unified whole. And this particular feeling, like the taste of an orange, does not need any scientific confirmations or wise affirmations. In fact, it doesn't need any possible confirmations. It is beyond all of that. That is, it knows itself in direct experience. And that's all. There are simply no remaining doubts regarding God, His existence, His presence, and everything that follows. In the experience that is direct, it occurs. And from this profound experience, you can gradually emerge from the state of samadhi. That is to say, into even deeper experiences, and you simply feel this entire subtle plane. And then, you feel how everything unfolds before you. It is as if something profound is opening up, something that has never been gazed upon with curiosity, and it opens up. Yeah. But also, the main thing is just to ensure it doesn't become a trap, so you don't try to hold on to these states. I don't cling to any of the states. A situation arises, and in that situation, a state. According to that situation, it manifests itself naturally. Yeah. And in that state, everything is unimportant. It doesn't really matter because this state transcends all matter. Everything that happens, it transcends this. But this can't be explained. In practice, you will only understand them. It transcends. The state of being transcends any conceivable of money, any sound, any people, and any sorts of desires. It truly transcends all of this. In other words, it is so incredibly exhaustive that it completely fills everything there is. And now, we find absolute freedom from all the desires that exist on this planet, from the essence of life itself, and even from the inevitability of death. Just freedom from all of this in the very moment. This is the true nature. It's a shift to oneself. to true nature. When disidentification occurs, I dissolves, remains. Like this emptiness, it is free from any sound. And it is not opposed whatever sound resonates here. You essentially experience the experience. This thing lives consciousness, itself now on all levels. Just like this t-shirt, just like this hairdo, just like this sense of emptiness, just like these various sounds or even these sounds, or like each individual body and then continuing on to thoughts, each one of those thoughts along with feelings, and all of this combined, conditionally forms of the same consciousness, individual manifestations, waves that flow out. But the source itself is unshakable. It is unshakable, untouched. That is, it doesn't care what sound flows out of it. It doesn't care what sound arises in it, how it sounds. Only this I thought. Only it cares what sound sounds here, because each of the sounds it describes. And it thinks that this is a good sound or bad. Why did you say that to me? Why like this? Why so loudly or so quietly? And only this I thought describes, this is a beautiful board or not beautiful. What inscriptions are there? But space doesn't care. It leaves all in peace, allows all to be, so there can be any board, any person, any sound, any event, any phenomenon. There can be a hurricane, a storm, and snow. You may have seen yogis. They sit in the mountains, in absolute warmth, surrounded by snow whatever happens. They are so engaged that their body can warm itself and provides warmth to the surrounding space around. Yeah. And I say, it is beyond everything. Whatever can happen, this thing remains simply untouched. Very valuable experience. Invaluable experience. Especially it manifests itself very strongly in some emergency situations because it's still. It seems to have been considered that I do not decide. I do not know my next thought. To be honest, it is even conscious that I do not know my next thought. This means that I do not create them. They arise spontaneously, are realized, and depending on what thought arises, everything else happens, all movements and so on. The same for all. But this is very quickly forgotten, and a person continues to be the author, an actor, and then a situation arises when, and that's all, then you really do not make any decisions at all. An emergency situation just arose spontaneously, whatever it may be. And that's it, and it reminds that yes, that is, God reminds himself that. And what about her? That is, it just flows away, it kind of takes everything. I've said many times, it takes everything. Thoughts and feelings change. Sometimes there is practice. Sometimes it changes smoothly, as everyday life flows. And sometimes, everything is taken very fast. Well, just one moment. And everything just starts to disappear. If there is a sharp attachment to the ego, to the fact that this is my world, my body, everything is mine, it starts to happen sharply, somehow abruptly, all at once. Some situation. I remember being in an accident when I was 18. You are driving, everything is fine. You are driving. Expect to come to some city. You will see someone on the road. A tire explodes, the car starts to flip, you are thrown out. That is, something happens in the moment that was unexpected. Something that suddenly breaks the world. Yay. Or when I worked in emergency surgery, they brought in what happened right now. Here, and they brought in all sorts of different cases, and if you identify in the moment, an emergency, realizing this is happening to me now, it starts to tear me apart, complicate everything. People begin to panic, a lot of everything. You need to maintain calmness within yourself. I am not saying that you should not do anything. It is done. The point is that it is done. It happens. That is, it has thought all this out by itself. It knew about it. Consciousness does this by itself. It creates by itself. Just the I thought, the ego claims that all of this is happening with it. And when something urgent happens, heavy, just disidentify. You don't need to go further, to fight. Or it will be harder. And that's it. No anger. You forgive everything. You forgive, quickly forgive, so that certainly, Anar's situation and his practice in presence serve as a clear warning. This was clearly predetermined. Everything to the millimeter, every word, sound, movement. And, I say that, as soon as you consider, but if you can see that you do not know your next thought, not just to believe me, but to see that you do know your next thought, then realize what that means. Here, people often see that they do not know their next thought. They cannot realize what it means. For them, it is scary to realize what it means. They keep on believing that they're actively creating their thought in the process. That is, thought arises spontaneously. They were before, during, and after. The thought was not known what it would be. It arises, and as soon as it starts to arise, look, here is the screen. You see, here is a finger. As soon as it starts to appear, awareness happens immediately. And claiming, my thought, as soon as the thought arises, I find myself in a position where I don't know what the thought will be until the moment it arises. And when it appears, I become aware that this is a thought, and this is my thought. But no one created it. It's spontaneous. Like rain in the sky, it arises spontaneously. And now, as soon as this is seen, and then, if you can realize what that means, I will explain to you what that means. You need to realize this within yourself, each one. The fact that the thought arises spontaneously means that there is no me as such, who creates this thought. It is just a spontaneous process, speaking. It is the same. By the way, it is all one actually. You have to remember, since everything is one, what sparks such a thought? Phrases arise spontaneously. They last and dissolve. What you see arises spontaneously, lasts, and dissolves. The body spontaneously arises in space, lasts, and dissolves. It's all one. This occurs with everything. All spontaneously arises, lasts, and dissolves. And this I thought, which claims all this, simply arises spontaneously below in the moment. It all unfolds so quickly. There's this sense of predisposition, and then, in the very next moment, a thought arises. Action. And it happens so quickly that it is not visible. You cannot discern that these are merely spontaneous events. Predisposition, thought, action. Each of these, each movement, it is spontaneous. So it is very easy to see when you try to sit and not move for an hour, 2, 3 hours, 4 hours, because as long as there's a feeling that I am deciding everything, I am doing everything. It is just a feeling of self-deception. I simply deceive myself to continue being. And as soon as you sit down for about 4 hours, or perhaps 3 hours, without moving at all, you will see that you are not capable of doing it. In most cases, until you step into experiencing this moment, you're unable. From the moment and the practice of presence, it's possible. Not for long, but it's possible. Not long. Then, if even deeper, it's also possible. But as long as there is identification with the I thought, it's definitely impossible. As long as you think that you are doing it, then it's impossible. When you step into presence, there will be no I, there will be presence. And nothing difficult, that's it, you're pure being. There is no one sitting anymore, but sitting happens, and that's it, no one to move and so on. And there'll be nothing difficult, difficult only with the I thought. Why I say you won't be able to, because I specifically address the I thoughts. And I understand that it is easy to see. You really need to just sit. Who has decided all his life to do something won't be able to decide to not move for just 3 hours. Not to speak and react. He'll be torn apart. He won't be able to do it. That's it. He simply devalued it on the go. But how? He just has been engaged in self-deception all his life. He has convinced himself that he is deciding everything, and it takes care of itself in all its manifestations. And this is freedom. And this is important to consider because when something like this happens, you realize that God decided so, He needs it that way. It's neither good nor bad, and it doesn't mean it's happening to you. Something happened to me. I didn't assert, just observed. He must experience this. I just watched how he experiences this. It's as if I'm just trying to explain. I watched how he realizes this specific experience. It's as if I stepped into presence. And it was as if it was known what arises, what happens here. That is, I remained untouched. Of course, there was no I that remained untouched. I want to say that there was just untouchedness itself, in itself. Yeah. And within this entity there exists this body, and it is happening as we speak. And that's it, and nothing troubled me. Because in everyday life you are involved, you still move, this and that, and if something suddenly changes, maximally at peace. Don't resist. That's how it is. Those who feel that this practice is indeed interesting and so forth, I am confident that they will naturally continue to delve deeper, develop this understanding within. Yeah, the main thing is not to get stuck, but open up, it should hold itself effortlessly. I have no identification with the body. Always, I identify with my true self, conditionally. Everything is true, but I always practically exist in emptiness. But it manifests naturally, I just dwell in this. And I simply dwell in this, and everything happens. So easy to talk and there's nothing to prepare for. There's nothing to prepare for, nothing to worry about. You have one stable, only singular calm state, and that's it, and what happens just happens. It is all like that. Be present today and witness how everything unfolds from this state. Who among all of you can see the fireflies in this space or perhaps some other phenomena? There is certainly something exists in this emptiness. If you stay in it a little, you will consider it. Stay in this. It can directly ignite you right in the moment. You will begin to feel a sense of warmth and similar feelings. You will realize how interconnected everything is. That is, it will be inexplicable, indescribable, but it'll know itself. And you'll find there will be no doubts left in your mind. Absolutely no doubts. It will simply be impossible to doubt the unity of everything. Yay. And give it a try to spend your whole day today focused on this. I will return to you tomorrow. Tomorrow. I need to run some errands now. Yay. I will return tomorrow. Tomorrow we will talk more about popularity. And on different aspects, I think we might also discuss spirituality. I'll try to ensure we have more time. Someone is asking, who comes to realization? For example, you hear the knowledge, and the consciousness tries to comprehend it, but in the moment right away. It fails, then something collapses, and someone becomes aware. Who is that? There is no need to create anyone. On this path, the one who asked, the one who realized one thing or another, it has always been consciousness. It has always been consciousness. Even this separate I, the ego that is also consciousness. And it continues to hold on. Seeing such questions, it shifts. There it transforms into the divine. It transforms into consciousness. And then I ask, So who does that? Who does this? Who realizes this consciousness? Who realizes the realizing? Who shifts? That's all. I say with words it somehow I try my best to explain. But remember, always remember in parallel, that there is only consciousness, and these are all its forms. And the more you try to cling like this, the more you confuse yourself. Who does this or that? There's no need to create someone. Do not create anyone. For what to create someone, please tell me. Simply allow it to be known within yourself. Let it be known within you that there is only consciousness. Yea, and it gradually shifts. It seeks to find itself. It realizes in them the form of objects and phenomena it has identified with the mind. It, like attention, realizes this, and further, but attention is also a phenomenon. Awareness is a phenomenon of consciousness, in any case. And everything happens. This process occurs, but there is no one who does it. It is all a spontaneous phenomenon. A situation has come up. It's a spontaneous occurrence. Even my decision to sit and practice is spontaneous. In order to conditionally feel something in this situation, it is still a spontaneous phenomenon. It's constant. Don't lie. Just that. If seen once. So don't fool yourself anymore. I mean, it's like if you realize that you don't know the next thought. Make an effort to truly realize and understand this important point. What does this mean? To realize really what this means, that is, that there is no one who creates this. It arises. It happens, it just happens. And just like this, and like this, all processes occur. Every visible and invisible processes arise, simply each one exist and dissolve in consciousness. These are just spontaneous events. No reasons. There's no need to create. Otherwise you will simply confuse yourself trying to understand things. It leads to nowhere. From nowhere, it arose and leads to nowhere. Yeah. Thank you very much, thank you. I think the recording will be... Yay. Today was the practice of presence without the present. That is, disidentify and go as far as possible into the moment. Simply spread your attention into emptiness. And if you considered some little things in it, just so, still, keep an eye on them carefully. It starts up, and deepening begins naturally. Just relax. It happens on its own. This practice occurs naturally. Yay. That's it. Thank you. In touch.